welcome to the Couch Sports Talk podcast. I am Goozy. I'm here with philanthropist Young E, and then we have a special guest with us today for the first time ever. Please, guys, welcome someone who definitely has more credentials than us. That is Ryan Dunbar. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thank y'all for having me on. Really
of course,
excited
man.
to be here.
Of course.
And
glad to have you here.
We're right. So the whole basis of this show is we get information the same way as every other fan does, and that's just watching sports on the fucking couch. And we talk about our favorite teams. So go ahead and tell us what your favorite teams are and who you follow.
So my favorite team. So for baseball, it's the Giants. For football, it's the Rams. For basketball, the Thunder. For hockey, the Sharks. And for soccer, I watch Arsenal.
All right, there we go. And I like that you included all those sports. Not many people follow all that, so that's awesome. And how are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Doing good, man. Another Sunday night, ready to talk some NBA bubble restart, some NFC West, and some baseball and hockey. The huge.
All right, what about you, Young E? You chilling?
It's been a fantastic week. As you can see from my background, fantastic week. First round starts next week. I'm excited for that. Diamondbacks still probably the worst team in baseball, but I'm gonna live with it. Roma got eliminated from the Europa League this week. Kind of sucked. They had won 8 in a row. They were looking pretty hot, but it is what it is. But other than that, it's been a good week. I'm back home today, so ready to get going and fire off these hot takes.
All right. And let's go ahead and just jump into the first topic. It is something that was going on last night, not only on the court, but also over social media. We have Dame Lillard, who missed 2 free throws in crunch time. They were essential. He's usually known to being, super clutch, especially after last year and just all the other shots that he's made in crunch time. And Patrick Beverley, the ultimate shit talker, one of the best in the league, was definitely getting to that man's head. It's just what Pat Bev does, and you got to respect it. And you also got to respect Lillard too. He never backs down. He's gonna say what he's gonna say too. He's really got that rapper mentality, because that's what he does on his own time. And then we had also Paul George jumping into this over social media, and in my opinion, Dame kind of told that man, he got him to shut up a little bit. He said, keep switching teams, running from the grind. You boys is chumps. I know that hit him a little deep. And then as of recording this, the game just ended maybe like an hour ago. Dame just put up 51 points. He was very fired up to get back on the court. So what do you guys think of all this?
So Pat Beverly talking shit on the bench. That's just what Pat Bev's gonna do. Dame shutting Paul George up makes me really happy because the switching teams thing. It's because Dame is very loyal. He has said many times he will never leave the Trail Blazers. He doesn't want to ring chase and all that shit.
Right.
Paul George demands a trade from the Pacers. The Pacers don't win. He goes to the Thunder, demands a trade from the Thunder after getting a game-winning 3 shot in his face after 2 incredibly disappointing playoff performances in a row. Remember when Joe Ingles was his daddy?
Yeah.
I say it's Paul George really had nothing to say to Dame. He was just "Oh, well, you're gonna get sent home this year," and Dame's just "Bro, shut the fuck up." Right. I just love the NBA so much because of shit like this. This is the only league where this happens on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting too happening right now with them in the bubble because they're all literally right next to each other at all times.
Yeah. No, they're literally in the same building.
Yeah.
The yacht club going crazy right now.
Hell yeah. And I'm a little biased because Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the NBA. I just love everything he's about. So, Phil, from someone who's probably neutral in this, how do you feel about it?
I'm with Dame 100%, man. Last night he missed 2 free throws. It happens. It's usually mental. You miss the first in a late game situation. Like you could be an 85% free throw shooter, but it's just in your head at that point. But I think Paul George is kind of corny, like Dunbar was saying earlier. I mean, he's just not in the position to do the talking, especially with Dame specifically because of that shot that got hit on him last year. And it wasn't the first time that like you could tell Paul George was salty about it. Like he said after the shot last year in a press conference, he said that wasn't a good shot. Which is technically true, but at the same time, like Dame Lillard's going to pull up from 35. That's what he does, and you got to defend it better. So I'm just not trying to hear it from Paul George. Pat Bev is just being Pat Bev. That's what he does. But overall, man, Dame has shown time and time again. I feel like for at least 6-7 years since really LaMarcus Aldridge left, every single year we're like, okay, maybe the Blazers will be out of the playoffs or they'll be on the fringe now. And time again, Damian Lillard rises up and he has a really good season, whether it's like a late season push or just consistently. And they're always in the playoffs with him as the cornerstone. And now I think with the Blazers healthy, I really think they're a threat as an 8 seed, probably the biggest threat any 8 seed has been in a while. Of course, that is if they win the play-in game, but I think they will at this point. Really what I'm bummed about is that they're going to play the Lakers for sure, and there's no way they can play the Clippers in the first round because that would be the ideal follow-up for this. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah. But like Dunbar said, man, the NBA is just awesome for this. Just so dramatic for no reason. You got to love the petty beef and all the Twitter memes and whatnot. And special shout out to Draymond Green for his $50,000 fine for tampering with Devin Booker yesterday too.
My man out of Phoenix.
Yep. 2 things in one day that are just hilarious. You got to love the NBA for that reason. But what do you think, Ethan?
I mean, I was really disappointed in Dame missing the free throws, but it does happen. And I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Pat Bev. I wish he'd shut the fuck up. If you're in the game, and you're playing, okay. If you're sitting on the sideline and you're sitting out because you guys clinched the 2 seed, shut the fuck up. You have no room to be talking right now. If you really got the balls, go put them out there on the court, risk injury, go fucking play. If not, shut the fuck up. Not trying to fucking hear it. You just sound like a salty little bitch. Now, back to Dame. I was disappointed, but tonight he came out, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch the game. I looked at the box score, and he just about single-handedly won them the game tonight. So, comes out, follows it up, does what he needs to do on a back-to-back game, and, is getting them in the playoffs. I think they're in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
And I think
Agreed.
that kind of leads us into our next topic with the Suns, who I think they're going to see in this playing game because I think the Grizzlies are just falling down a canyon right now.
Unfortunately,
it's really ugly to see, and I feel bad because I love Ja, but it's going to happen. But I think it's going to be an interesting playing game, but I just don't think the Suns can compete with the Trailblazers on a real level. And no disrespect to the Suns. They're a good team. It's just like I think the Trailblazers are in another league.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about the Trailblazers, though, especially the game for today, the Sixers were playing without Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid throughout half the game, and the Sixers were still in it. It's just sometimes the Blazers seem to be playing inconsistently. Mm-hmm. And Dame has to go all out like he does tonight. So if they're going to, want to make the playoffs and even compete against a team like the Lakers, they're going to have to step it up and be more consistent. And last show, I apologize to the Suns. Young E, the show before that, was talking about how hot they were at the time and how excited he was to see them. And I dismissed the fuck out of them. I was sleeping with the AC on at 65. So, I apologize, and Devin Booker is showing that, he's an up-and-coming superstar, and Draymond Green even got fined $50,000 for going on TNT and saying that he deserves to be on a better team.
Fucking.
And, hey, you got to kind of respect that, and, I agree with it a little bit. But, and it's real scary, too, because they could have had TJ Warren, who's going on just an absolute tear right now. So Dunbar, since you're our guest, man, I'll let you go ahead and kind of talk about the Suns and TJ Warren if you want to go, for both of them. But what do you think of the Suns so far?
As well, it's just the most like mind-blowing thing of the bubble. I feel like it's this thing was bad. Like they were just, it's like why are they here kind of a deal. But I mean, they're all playing out of their minds. I mean, like Devin Booker, Ricky Rubio finally has a jump shot after being in the league for 12 years without one. I think it's more like 8 years. Cameron Payne, the guy who is known because he danced with Westbrook that 1 year, is all of a sudden averaging like 16 points a game. Man, that would have been nice to have 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the Suns with the play-in game. Is it a series or is it just one game? And if you are out too much,
Dunbar, you're cutting out there a little bit, but if I'm correct, you said that you're wondering if the play-in series, like, what's the series going to look like?
Yeah, is it like is the play-in game just one game or is it like a 3-game set?
Phil, can you answer that?
Yeah, so the play-in game, the way it works is the 8 seed only needs to win once to advance, but the 9 seed has to win twice. So it's a double elimination for the 8 seed.
And the Grizzlies are really dropping the ball right now.
Yeah, Jaren being out really fucks them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the thing Dunbar with the Suns versus the Blazers. Oh, what's up?
You might have to disconnect and then reconnect. It's cutting out pretty bad. I don't know if that's happening for you guys too.
Yeah, it's cutting out on our end too.
Okay. It's not too much.
Fucking nowhere.
But Phil, what do you think about the Suns? And I've also seen too, from just looking at the stats, it looks like we're seeing an improvement from DeAndre Ayton, so that's nice to see as well, as he's continuing to be someone that you could depend on in the paint. So what do you think about them?
Jordan, there's not many ways I can take solace in the fact that the Kings chose Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic, but one of the few things that gave me solace was that the Suns picked DeAndre Ayton #1 overall, because up until really the second half of this year, that was almost just as bad as us picking Bagley over Doncic. But now, especially in this bubble, Ayton not only looks jacked, like he put on 20 pounds of muscle, legitimately or otherwise. Not only that, his defense has gone up a significant level, and he looks like a legitimate future all-star. And I'm thinking, fuck, man, we had not one, not two, but 3 different chances to select a great player who doesn't have injury problems. We had Jaren Jackson Jr. available, we had Luka, obviously, and we also had Trae Young. But we got stuck with Bagley, who, I wish him well. I know he's a great kid, great player when he has been playing. He looks really good. But the Suns, man, I don't know if you guys watch that Bleacher Report show where it's like Game of Thrones, but it's in the NBA.
It's the greatest thing ever made.
Yeah. Have you guys? The Suns used to be lumped in with us. They had a running joke where it was called House Sun Kings, and they would just be doing the same stupid the Sun Kings. And I was happy because you know what? The Kings were not alone. They had a stupid franchise doing stupid stuff with them. But no, not anymore. Now they have Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, a really solid supporting cast, and a bright future ahead of them. And the Kings are still the Kings, and we're going for our 5th rebuild in 15 years. So you know what? I wish I could tell you that I'm happy for the Suns, but I'm not. I fucking hate it. It makes me so upset. But what I want to talk about with my time, instead of the Kings or stuff that reminds me of the Kings, is TJ Warren. TJ Warren has been on an absolute freaking tear. He's been putting up like 35 plus every game. And I'm telling everybody right now, if you have time tomorrow, watch the Heat and Pacers game, because Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren have mad beef from the last time they played in the regular season. And at the time it was like, okay, it's Jimmy Butler. What the heck? I'm not going to tune in to see TJ Warren. But no, now it's a legitimate thing. So I'm telling you, tune in tomorrow. Jimmy Butler's playing. He's coming back from injury. It's going to be must-watch television. So that's my 2 cents for that right there.
Hey, he hit that 3 right in LeBron and AD's face.
Yeah,
like
he
he's
did.
not he's doing it with a killer mentality, and that's what you like to see.
It's legitimately like a Linsanity thing, where it was a guy who was playing at like a completely different level out of nowhere for a sustained period of time.
Do you think the bubble has something to do with that?
Potentially. It could just be, TJ Warren's always been a baller, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been like a star the way he's playing like right now. I think really the Pacers are just a great franchise. They have a really good coach, and they just play good ball. And, with guys like Oladipo coming back and not being ready to take the role on that he was before, I think Warren just has the green light and he gets plenty of minutes and he shoots because, Bogdanovich is not on the team anymore. So he has more free reign to just take over and take all those shots that aren't there for other people. And I think he's just taken it and ran with it.
Definitely. And then, that can kind of lead us into just so we can, I've noticed the last couple of shows we've been staying on a little bit too long on some topics. So we're going to move right along ahead because Suns, we don't want to talk about, just bringing up the Kings. And then TJ Warren, obviously on this huge tear. But we have our special guest here, who is a huge Thunders fan, and they're one of the most surprising teams this year. So I really wanted to ask you, what is the biggest difference with this team this year compared to last couple of seasons?
I mean, honestly, I've been very adamant, very vocal the last few years about the Thunder needed to fire Billy Donovan because his offensive sets were just so unbelievably bad. But this year, I really do think Chris Paul has just made such an insane difference in terms of how the ball is moved. And also the Thunder every year just always just play fantastic defense. I mean, to replace, someone like Russ or someone like Chris Paul, who is, just as good, if not a better defender as Russ, and, also, someone with length like at SGA, then you're throwing guys like Dort and Ferg, and also one thing this year is they have a legit 3-point scorer in Gallinari, which the Thunder haven't had an elite 3-point shooter since Kevin Martin, 2013.
Kmart.
shot 43% from 3 that 1 year.
Yep.
That's a good team. But yeah, no, it's just the offense just seems so much more smooth this year, and they seem to really kind of have a much better chemistry, which I hate saying that because I don't believe the whole Russell Westbrook's a team killer kind of thing. I don't believe that, but just it's a lot more smooth without having to rely on him and Paul George for everything. It's kind of more of a shared load. Chris Paul is still the guy, but him, Shea, Gallinari, that's a pretty good 3. And then they're just deep.
Definitely. And just going on what they're doing on the court, what do you think they're doing different that really separates them from you were kind of going into a little bit, but what's separating them from a Russell Westbrook offense?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing, I'd say the biggest difference between this year and the last, 2 or 3 years, ever since KD left, they're just a much better shooting team. I mean, Chris Paul is a better shooter than Russ. You can't deny that. I love Westbrook, but he's not a very good shooter. Shea has a real nice jump shot. I'm very shocked as to how far along his jumper is compared to where I thought it was. And then you have Gallinari, who the last 3 years with the Clippers shot at least 38% from 3, and he's still doing his thing. He can bang from deep. I remember the first game I watched, it was against the Warriors. This dude just gets buckets. And then you have Steve Van Adam still does still does his thing. He plays defense, gets boards, and Dennis Schroeder has been a revelation off the benched. 19 points a game on like 47% shooting.
Insane.
Sixth man of the year candidate for sure.
I think he has to win it. I mean, God, the Thunder haven't had a bench scorer like that in a long time either, and that was one thing that always sucked. It was, when Russ and Paul George came out the game, it was just please don't let the team go on a run. But now it's like they can actually kind of punch back a bit.
Right.
Yeah. Are you more confident in this team's this year's team? Are you more confident in this year's team to compete in the playoffs as in comparison to the last couple of years?
Yes, and I only say that because I had literally no confidence in Paul George last season. I believed so hard in 2018 after his 43-point game in Game 1 against the Jazz, only for him to just be terrible. And last year he also had the shoulder injury, which I mean, he very obviously needed to get that fixed, but just played through it. And oh no, it's very much, I was just like, we're gonna lose. It's just don't get swept kind of a thing.
Yeah, right.
But somehow I think Dame hitting a deep ass three in Paul George's face was somehow more embarrassing.
Oh my God, what a shot! Are you coming around to Billy Donovan?
Oh yeah, no, I was talking to my brother the other day. I was like, I need to go back and find my tweets and send them to Old Takes Exposed. They were fucking bad. I was like, this dude sucks. We need to fire him. Because I really wanted Budenholzer when he got fired.
Oh, that's still a good choice.
I'm like, we're gonna get stuck with Billy fucking Donovan. Oh God. Yeah, no, he has been so good.
Now imagine that, but with Luke Walton instead of Billy Donovan.
I have some old takes exposed to send about Luke Walton too, because I was kind of, I wasn't super into him, but I was just like, the Lakers is a bad fit. Let's see him with a team like the Kings that can play that more pace and space. And
I told myself that too.
Pace and space.
We all have to lie to ourselves as Kings fans.
Yeah, it's a crucial part of the experience.
You would all be you would all be dead. You would all be dead by now if y'all just did not learn how to just lie to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fine. This is the year, definitely.
Truth.
You got when you go to a game, you just got to be like, oh, we can maybe win. You got to go in it with that, even though you're fairly certain you're gonna watch a loss.
Yeah.
The Kings pull random wins out of their ass all the time against really top tier for no reason at all. They play to their competition for better or for worse.
I went to a Kings Thunder game in 2016. I was like, oh, I'm gonna see Russ drop a triple double. This is gonna be fun. Yeah. And the Kings won by 12. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It happens a lot.
And then I went to the Laker game this year, and the Lakers had 81 points at halftime. It's like,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, no more Kings. I'm sorry, that was me.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, sorry.
That could go ahead and just lead us into our big segment of the show, and that is the NFC West. And the standings for that last year were the Cardinals finished in last place at 5-10. After that, with the Rams at 9-7. Then the Seahawks 11-5. Then the NFL runner-ups at 13-3.
You're a fucking asshole.
You put some mustard on that one, huh?
The runner-up.
West for 6 is still
here's what I'm gonna call them: the NFC champions. That's what they are. They're the NFC champions.
Hey, it's better than
fuck out of here.
Teams did.
Fuck out of here with the runner.
Just don't disrespect 43, and we're good. 43. Don't disrespect 43.
Garbage ass system quarterback.
I'm there too, bro. Don't worry. I think it's just as silly.
Yeah,
oh my God. So usually what we do, Dunbar, is we go from the bottom to the top off of the standings based off of last year. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about the Arizona Cardinals, who are an up-and-coming team full of young talent. They have one of the sexiest coaches in the league, and Kingsbury.
Stop it. Oh, God.
A little bit.
He's not better than that.
He just looked like a superstar sitting in his living room. That was just an amazing
I was
scene.
gonna say, bro, he can invite me to his house anytime, bro.
I'll jump off a cliff.
And then they have at quarterback Minnie Murray, who is – I watched a lot of Cardinals games last year specifically for him. He is one of the most exciting players in the NFL. It's so weird to watch him because of how small he is compared to everybody else. But man, he can run, and it's like always, it's like so unexpected. He just flies, and he's got a good arm on him. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He could sling that thing pretty damn good. Larry Fitz was loving it last year, and they have a new weapon now in DeAndre Hopkins. So now Larry's even going to be happier. There's not going to be as much double teams on him. I really like this team going into this year. I think they're going to improve on that 5-10-1 record. I was really upset with that tie with the Lions. So what is? I'm gonna go ahead and go with you, Dunbar, first. Since you're probably watching the Cardinals a lot, as well as Phil does too. But what is your opinion on the Cardinals going into this year?
My first take on the Cardinals is that I really hope they don't put the Rams in last place. But I mean, I'll say because I'm in Oklahoma fan, so I got to watch Kyler Murray. I mean, he was only there for a year as the starter, but man, the way that he's came on, the way that he's came into the league and was already, probably, top half of quarterbacks, possibly, top 20 at least. The way that he played from the jump was surprising, and I'm expecting him to make a gigantic leap this year, especially with Hopkins. I mean, no disrespect to Fitz, but Hopkins is a real number one. I mean, I think the Texans are really going to regret trading him. I mean...
We accept all Bill O'Brien slander on this show.
Okay, cool. Fuck Bill O'Brien. He's an idiot.
Yes.
I'm trying to be nice. He's a dumbass.
Worst GM in football.
He's going to trade 2 first-round picks for Laremy Tunsil, then trade DeAndre Hopkins for a second-round pick and a trash running back.
Us talking about Bill O'Brien is going to make me drink. so awful.
But yeah, no, I think the Cardinals, I did like a standings projection really quickly, and I was like, I think the Cardinals somewhere between that 8-8, 9-7, if things go wrong, 7-9 territory. I think they'll firmly be in the middle ground of the NFL, which I mean is a very good spot to be in for how young they are. And I mean, it's like I don't think they have that many contracts coming up in terms of who they have to pay. I think they might have to worry about Fitzgerald retiring, but I think they are in a very good spot to become like legitimate contenders within at least 2 years or so.
Definitely. And as a fan of the runner-ups, philanthropist, what you watch the Cardinals a lot as well. So, what is your opinion on them going into this season, and where do you see them improving?
I'm actually really not high on the Cardinals at all. I've come around on Kyler. I really like his potential and his ability to play the game. I actually like their offense a lot too. I really like that they have Hopkins and they barely gave up anything for him. Larry Fitz is a legend, and I think he still has a little bit of production to give. The big question marks are obviously for me the defense and the coach's ability to do something about the defense. I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury fan at all. I'm telling you right now, I think he's on the hot seat if he doesn't put
on the hot seat.
What?
That's a hot take. Yeah, that's a hot take. I don't think he's good. I really
you're
don't.
Gonna make me drink.
I'm telling you, the Cardinals. The Cardinals had the Niners.
This shit.
The Cardinals had the runner-ups dead to rights twice this year, and Cliff Kingsbury threw the game away. I'm telling you, his coaching in those situations, his play calling was atrocious. Okay, and they had no business even competing with us in the first place. But, Kyler, I'll just give it to you. Honestly, he kind of dissected our defense, which obviously is one of the best in the league. So I was really impressed with what I saw there. To be honest with you, it's not even that I think that they're going to do that bad record-wise. I just think this is one of, if not the best divisions in football. And at this time, I don't see the Rams falling below them in the standings. And I have the Cardinals at last in the 7-9 range.
7-9 range. At 7-9, you're last in the division. That's a tough division. Go ahead,
That's exactly how I see it going. Yeah.
I completely agree with Phil, and this is probably the toughest division in football. But if there's a team in the NFC that I'm really high on this year, if there's an NFC Broncos,
I was just about to say that. Yep.
It is the Arizona Cardinals.
Cap.
I love this team. I love what they've put together. I really like Cliff Kingsbury. I really like that they brought back Kenyon Drake and got rid of David Johnson. That was a fantastic move because we saw Kenyon Drake in the last 6 games of the season last year put up like 200 yards a game. It was fucking ridiculous.
Fantasy stud.
And you throw,
winner.
Yeah, dead ass. I got tossed in the playoffs because of him, of course.
Do you think Kenyon Drake can keep it up, or is he going to be Jay Ajayi 2.0?
No, I think he's a good running back, and I think he fits well in their offense and what they're trying to do with they kind of run it like a speed offense, I think, and I think he fits really well in that. So I think he's going to be a solid, we might see 1,500 yards out of him this year and 10 touchdowns. Like he's a solid running back, and I think he can play all 3 downs for sure because he can catch out of the backfield. So I think that's a really solid pickup for them, and I think moving on from David Johnson, especially when you get DeAndre Hopkins in return, is just fucking fantastic. Like, that's amazing because David Johnson was like falling off for 2 years now. I think he's been holding them back, honestly, and because they keep playing him. They kept trying to play him, and then he would go 9 carries for 3 yards, and it would be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, they've literally went 2 plays, and it's 3rd and 13 on the first 4 drives of the game. What the fuck is happening? So I think moving on from that is a big move for them, and then bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, to help out Kyler Murray, gives him, a huge, a big bridge to his next stepping stone to where he needs to be as a quarterback, and I think his potential is limitless. I think he reminds me so much of Russell Wilson, but he's faster, and he's a little bit less accurate on the run, but he's definitely getting there. And for a first-year quarterback, he's all you could have wanted last year. I mean, I wasn't high on him out of the draft. I thought number 1, I thought he could be like a number 5 to 8. I thought he could be in that range. I thought he was a good quarterback, but I didn't know about number 1. But after the year played out, I definitely think he deserved to be the number 1 pick. He's a fantastic quarterback, and I think, in a year or 2, we're going to see him as a top 10 in the league. Their defense, not great, but I think the offense can really carry them. I do think they're going to have a tough time passing up the Rams. I do see them in the 7-9 to the 9-7 range. Potentially, if things go really good, they could go 10-6, but they need some standout players. I think they need some standouts on the defense, and then I think they need a tight end to really step up and, come out and play, because a young quarterback needs that, especially, someone like Kyler, who's going to be out of the pocket a lot. He's going to need somebody to be able to check the ball down too, other than Kenyon Drake. So I think that's a position of need for them, but they could fill it. There's a lot of free agents still left, and there's a lot of cuts to still be made before the season starts. So
definitely, and I definitely agree with you guys. It's going to be very hard for them to jump over anybody in this division. In order for that to happen, another team's going to have to give, an injury is going to have to happen or something like that. But I'm kind of seeing a 7-9, 8-8, but I do see improvements from this team, and I just think it's going to take a couple years, especially for, some of those teams, the Rams, Seahawks, or Niners, maybe one of them fall off for the next couple of years. It's just bound to happen, is what happens in the NFL. But I agree, a team with a very bright future, but right now, I don't see them doing too much, but they are exciting. If you're ever bored on a Sunday because you have no games to watch, go watch the Cardinals, because even if they're fucking losing 35-0, Kyler Murray's still doing something exciting on the field. And that leads us into our next team. And that is the LA Rams. This is, Dunbar's team. So I'm going to let him go ahead and speak on them first. But, this team had a down year last year at 9-7. They no longer have Todd Gurley anymore. He was kind of, in my opinion, holding the team back a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll help them out a little bit. And Dunbar, my question for you about the Rams is, what do they need to do, and will they have it this season, be able to do it, to get back to the old form that they were at a couple years ago?
I wouldn't call myself a pessimistic fan, but I am not super high on the Rams this year. I think they're firmly in the 8-8. I hope they can get to 8-8. I mean, the biggest mistake they made was when last offseason they re-signed Dante Fowler and let Roger Saffold go to the Titans. The Rams' offensive line last year was very, very bad. It was just disgustingly bad. And Jared Goff is someone who is very bad off platform. He's not super good under pressure either. And which is also why it was a mistake to give him the giant contract that they did. He needs structure, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to have it this year because I don't see great improvements on the offensive line. So I think the offense might struggle again. They have young running backs. I mean, Cam Akers, he was a second-round pick, but can he be 2018? Can he be the 2018 Todd Gurley that the Rams need him to be successful? And behind this offensive line, I don't really think anyone can replicate even a semblance of what the Rams were able to do when they got to the Super Bowl. And with the running game being as shot as it is, I just really can't see Goff being the type of player he was when they got to the Super Bowl. Because, I mean, he still had decent stats last year. But, I mean, when you watch the game, he struggled a lot. And I don't see that really improving unless somehow the offensive line just improves out of thin air.
Do you still have full confidence in McVay?
I have confidence in McVay, yes. My confidence in Goff is starting to wane. It started to wane week 13 after the Lions game in 2018. And then, because, I mean, it was like Lions, he played awful. Bears, he played just terribly. Like, Jared Goff had the amazing game against the Chiefs and then wasn't good again until the NFC Championship game. And then in the Super Bowl again, the Rams in general, that game just shit the bed. The only people that came to play were the guys on defense, and even then, was it really good defense or was
the Patriots barely even came to play?
Bad offense, yeah.
One of the worst Super Bowls I've ever seen, by the way.
Oh my God, it was so bad. And then the halftime show was a tease because we were supposed to have SpongeBob.
Right.
God, that was like the worst Super Bowl of my life, hands down. God, it was depressing. And I had to go to school the next day. I was off all day.
Oh, I'm so
like,
sorry.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah. Do you see them improving on the 9-7 record, or do you see them getting worse this year?
I think either they hold steady at 9-7, or I think they get worse. I also think the defense is going to take a massive step back.
Yeah.
They're linebackers. I mean, they're losing they lost Dante Fowler and Corey Littleton, and it's just the front seven outside of Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers. It's who the hell are these guys?
Yeah. The way I kind of see the Rams this year is, they're a couple injuries away from being like a 5-11 team.
Yes.
So, Phil, what do you think about the Rams this year, and are they any threat to the 49ers in your opinion?
It's a mixed bag for me. I think looking at the Rams is really a case of, how the mighty have fallen. God, I remember when they took on Sue and they had Fowler and they had Donald and then they traded for Jalen Ramsey early this year. I was thinking like, man, this team is going to be a problem, going to be an issue. But Really, I think the biggest death knell for this team was that they lost Todd Gurley. And they didn't lose him this year. They lost him 2018, week 14 or whenever it was. He aggravated that knee. And when he was on, he was the best running back in football, period. Then after that, he became something else. I have lost no faith in McVay at all. I think he's still one of the best coaches in the league. And I think him fully committing to running back by committee approach is going to do more for that offense than it was when they were trying to pretend like Todd Gurley was still a starting running back. That's no disrespect to Todd Gurley at all. I hope he gets better, but degenerative knee issues are no joke, especially for running backs or for any human being for that matter. Really, I think when it comes down to the Rams, it's going to come down to whether or not Jared Goff is for real. Because other than that, I still like their roster a lot. I like Cooper Kupp, obviously fantasy legend for me. Shout out to Cooper Kupp. Great 10th round pickup. Robert Woods, I've always liked him. I like their two tight ends, Everett and Higbee. At the end of the day, they still have the best player in the league that's not named Patrick Mahomes on the defensive side with Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey had a really down year, but I haven't lost any faith in him either. I think he's going to bounce back again with that fresh scenery. And they have my favorite punter in the league in Johnny Hecker, bro. Johnny Hecker is an absolute beast. But yeah, overall, it's my opinion that with the new 17 playoff format, there's going to be 3 NFC West teams, and I think the Rams are going to be the third. I think they were going to sneak in either as a 9-7 or a 10-6 deal. But really, with Jared Goff, it could flip either way. If he shows up and plays, they're going to be good. If he's struggling or mid-level, I think they're going to be probably back 8-8, 7-9, down with the Cardinals.
What do you think about them, Youngie?
I'm not as low on this team as you guys are. I see the problems with the offensive line, but I think I've seen in the last couple of years a lot of, at least from the Ravens side, and I know Sean McVay's a fantastic coach, so he can produce similar things, but a lot of late round undrafted free agents stepping up on the offensive line. So I think there's a possibility for it to happen. I'm not going to count them out. And I think they had a really good draft. I love Cam Akers. It's a fantastic pick to fill in for Todd Gurley. He's my fantasy sleeper out this division, 100%. They also grabbed Van Jefferson in the second round, who I really like, out of Florida. He's a 4-year senior, but, he's a speeder. He didn't get to play in the combine or do the combine because he's hurt, but I think he's a good player, and he can definitely fill in on the opposite side of Robert Woods as another outside receiver when Cooper Kupp is playing the slot. And then, I liked moving on from Todd Gurley. I thought he was holding them back a lot. I think they made a mistake last year trading away Marcus Peters. Good mistake for me. Really worked out on my end.
Special teamer.
But I do think, at least from what I saw from Kenny Young when he was with the Ravens, he did start a couple games at inside linebacker. He's not a bad player. He has potential. I think, this year when they're needing players and, I know the inside linebacker position for them is really a toss-up going into camp. He might be able to step up and really contribute because I really think he's a good player. I just think, he's been held back by, some tough situations. In Baltimore, he kind of just got overtaken by, some better players that they had. And I think he's been, I know Corey Littleton was there, so he was kind of filling the backup role for him. So I think he could step up and maybe contribute something on the defense. But I think this is a 9-7, 10-6 team, and I really think it's going to be between them and the Cardinals for that 7 seed in the NFC. I do think this is a 3 playoff team division, 100%. And I think it's going to come down to that game, and I don't know if it's the final game of the season that they play each other. It might be that it'd be super dramatic, but I think it's going to come down to them for the 7 seed in the NFC for sure.
Definitely. I see them being around there as well, that 9-7, 10-6 area. One thing I did want to talk about with the Cardinals that I totally forgot to talk about was Isaiah Simmons, who's going to be joining that defense. Mm-hmm. He's going to be providing a sideline-to-sideline defender. I think that's going to greatly improve them. So I just wanted to get that because I don't want to make it seem like we're just missing out on huge details because he is I think he's going to be a fantastic player in the next couple of years. And he can make a huge difference. Yeah. But yeah, with the Rams, like I said, a few injuries away from possibly being at the bottom of the division, but still very good roster. That defense has a lot of talent, superstar wise. And Jared Goff, we'll see what he can do. I'm personally not too high on him because I'm kind of with Dunbar. I don't like the way his mechanics get when he's under pressure. And if you're going to be playing in the NFC West, you got to be able to handle the pressure. And I'm just not too sure he can do it. But I have a lot of confidence in McVay. I think he's a tremendous coach. So maybe he can iron out some of those things during this offseason and during the season as well.
Before we move on, I have to put Ethan, and I don't know if you were in this, Jordan, or not, but I got to put you two on blast. Before the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl, in our friend group chat, one of you had said, "Is this the best quarterback matchup we've ever seen in Super Bowl history?" With Jared Goff.
It was definitely not me.
That was definitely not me.
You're lying. You're lying on
No, it was one of you two. I was super mad at you.
You're lying on
I was pissed.
No, you're tripping.
They're saving face, chat. Don't listen to them.
That might be the worst thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
I got a drink to that.
That was not going to come from my mouth as a Dolphins fan. That's not going to come from my mouth as a Dolphins fan.
I can't believe you would even imagine that.
I'm 99% sure that was Ethan, Jordan. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Hey, Dunbar, the reason why I kind of believe that is because Trubisky is one of his favorite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Ethan's?
Yes.
I mean, not anymore, but when he came into the league, I liked
Bro, you need to quit drinking.
Yes. Put the bottle down, bro.
Hey, I mean, he's a bad quarterback, don't get me wrong. He's probably a backup quarterback, but the potential was there for him to be good, and it's kind of going away now. We talked about it last week. I was kind of sad. It makes me sad. I hope he can win the job out of camp and kind of come out and save his name and go 10-6, but
Listen,
I don't
man,
see it happening
Nick
at all.
Foles opted out of the season for COVID, and he's still not winning that job out of camp.
Wait, did he really?
Wait, did he actually?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me check, actually. I don't know.
No, I think you're.
There's no way that.
I also want to say
that Big Dick Nick would opt out of the season.
Yeah, for real. I also want to say on that, like speaking on that, I saw the other day ESPN put out, or it was ESPN or Bleacher Report put out this story, and they ranked all the NFL position groups 1 through 32, and they ranked the Bears as 32. I don't know about that, bro. Like, Nick Foles is not that bad. Mitchell Trubisky is not that. There's worse teams in the NFL. Like, let's be real here.
Nope, I was wrong. Nick Foles did not opt out of the season for COVID. He was placed on the COVID list for a few days for a false positive test. Okay. But he's chilling now.
But yeah, ESPN or Bleacher Report, whoever it was, I don't know what the fuck disrespect you're coming with, but they're not the worst quarterback room in the NFL. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. They're definitely
not 32.
Like, they could be maybe 28, 26, but they're not 32. I mean, there's some really bad quarterback rooms in the
like Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick, man.
All right.
I'm not saying 32 for them. Maybe bottom 5, but not 32.
I'm just playing.
Honestly, like, aside from Brady, I'm like, he's 43, 44. I can't be that high on him anymore. They got no backup quarterback, like, at all. So I don't know. And the Patriots, I guess they signed Cam, but no backup quarterback. That's probably a bottom 5 quarterback room too.
The Jets. I am very low on Sam.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of him. I wasn't that big of a fan of him coming out of college, and he has just not been good.
We also accept all forms of Sam Darnold slander.
And Adam Gase, for that matter.
Yeah, Adam Gase too.
But not Josh Allen slander.
Thinking with that?
No, don't listen to him. We accept Josh Allen slander.
No, Josh Allen sucks.
No,
yes.
He is a bad quarterback.
No.
Yes. Thank you.
He is a tight end playing quarterback.
I feel so vindicated, boys. So vindicated.
Every game, he will do something so unbelievably fucking stupid.
Thank you.
And it's like, he's not good enough to make up for those stupid mistakes. There's just like, just playing with fire every game.
I'm telling you, man. I watched him.
Potential.
I watched him when he was on Wyoming because they played FBS2 every year. Bro, how are you on Wyoming and you're the worst player on your offense? Please tell me. You play for Wyoming and you're the worst player.
I had to scout him. I watched every game he played in.
Thank you, Dunbar.
And
Thank you.
Was just like, it's like this dude is supposed to be a top 10 pick. I wouldn't even take him in the first 3 rounds.
I'm with you all the way.
Like 81 yards against Hawaii.
With that being said, fantastic.
In overtime.
I want to move.
He's got the tools. That's all I say about him.
He's big and white.
Hey, he can
He's
run.
a quarterback.
Hey, I've seen him jump over Anthony Barr, bro.
Yeah, that's something. If he can
that
put up
white
80
boy can
rushing,
jump.
Hey, we saw the Bills win with Tyrod Taylor and go 10-6 and make the playoffs. They could do it with Josh Allen, especially now that they got Stephon Diggs. They got a good team.
Yeah, that's true.
Tre'Davious White, I think he was
win the East.
Thinking about opting out, but I think that deadline passed this week, correct?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's in.
Yeah, he's in, which I love to see that because he is one of my favorite players in the NFL. I think he's better than Stephon Gilmore. That's a hot take for you, but
that's true.
That's a hot take for you.
But anyway, let's get back on topic.
Yeah, let's get right back into it. Now we're at the Seahawks. Seahawks. They're one of my favorite teams to watch strictly because of Russell Wilson and what he does every Sunday, every primetime game, every big-time game. He steps up to the plate, and he's just I just like the way he carries himself as a leader. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Should have 2 rings. Just should have ran the ball. And he's always
throw the pick.
Yeah, true.
Just throw that
but
out there.
this this Seahawks team, this organization for the last decade has been a perennial contender because of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, and just the energy they bring to Seattle is insane. When they're winning, it is real hard to win in Seattle, and I love the addition of Jamal Adams. It kind of brings back that Legion of Boom toughness that I think they've been missing the last couple of years. So Dunbar, what do you think of the Seahawks in this year? And do they improve on that 11-5 record? And do they possibly dethrone the runner-ups?
I don't know if they dethrone the 49ers, but the Seahawks are going to be really fucking good this year. Like, I think 11-5, 12-4, if things go right, they could possibly go 13-3. I mean, this team, Russell Wilson he has to be the second best quarterback in football at this point. The way that he can carry a team almost on his own is just unbelievable. The way he goes out and plays every week, just week in and week out, in spite of Brian Schottenheimer, is nothing short of a miracle. And then, that defense is just they always just somehow just have a really good defense. And adding Jamal Adams and Quentin Dunbar is just, that secondary is going to be nice again, and then just their front seven will always be good. I think. I mean, between KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, that linebacker group will always just be special.
Yeah.
And I eventually think Clowney comes back to them. I think he resigns eventually, and that defense is just going to be really, really good again. I think, 12-4 is definitely on the cards. They could be in the NFC title game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be really, really, really good.
Definitely, I agree. What about you, Phil? What do you think of the Seahawks this year?
Oh my God, I can't escape the Seahawks, man. No matter what, what happens in life, they're always going to be there to just bug the Niners. Listen, everything that was said about their defense is true. It's a great defense. Jamal Adams, I think he's a top 5 player regardless of position in the league. I'm going to be really, really scared if Jadeveon Clowney comes back, because then at that point, I don't see many holes in that defense at all. But on the offensive side, this is where I put my Haterade glasses on. So, take Russell Wilson out of it. Chris Carson, I'm asleep. Rashad Penny, I'm asleep. I know they put up good numbers. It's part of the offense. It's just what happens. Tyler Lockett, no, he's a great fantasy player. I'm still asleep. DK Metcalf, all right, he's good. I'll give you that. Philip Dorsett II, I'm super sleep. Greg Olsen, I'm sleep. Will Dissly, I'm sleep. Jacob Hollister, I'm sleep. Their offensive line, average at best. Russell Wilson puts a lot of Band-Aid, a lot of rose-colored glasses on that offensive line.
He does.
But look, when you have Russell Wilson, none of that matters. The 49ers can be better at every single position on offense than the Seahawks, but it doesn't matter because at quarterback, Russell Wilson's got that by a mile and a half. And that really is what it comes down to me. I think if the 49ers and Seahawks are within, 1 overall point on Madden of each other, the Seahawks are going to take it because they have Russell Wilson and we don't, period. And, we'll get
number 43. Number 43.
Number 43.
We'll get into 43
But Russell
later.
Wilson was like number 4.
Number
bro.
2, number 3.
Yeah,
We'll get into,
he was
yeah.
2 or 3, right?
Yeah, I think he was 3.
But
Yeah,
Russell Wilson,
Mahomes was 4.
Yeah.
which is wrong. we'll get into that. But at the end of the day, man, Russell Wilson just does some things that just shouldn't be allowed. I mean, he's right up there with Mahomes in terms of just making plays and keeping plays alive that just should have been dead 4 times over. And we could put Lamar in that category as well. But, man, I'll take it. I know they put a lot of fear into me as a Niners fan, but you've seen some of these games between the Niners and Seahawks. It's just instant gold every single time they play each other. Like, it's at this point in my lifetime, there's been at least 4 classic games between these two teams. So I want to see 2 classic games in the regular season, and I want to see an NFC Championship game again. Because to be honest with you, if we go to the Super Bowl, the Niners, and we don't go past the Seahawks, it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like we earned it because they're clearly the second best or the best team in the conference every year.
Do you think the Niners will be losing that number 1 spot?
I'll save that for when we discuss the Niners next.
Okay.
Ask me again.
Young E, what do you have to say about the Seahawks this year?
Strongly disagree with Phil. I think this is the best team in the NFC. I think this is the strongest roster in the NFC. I think their defense is probably the best in the NFL. And that's coming from a Ravens fan who I also think might have the best defense in the NFL. It's a strong, like that top 3 is all pretty close. Throw the Steelers in there too. They got a really good defense. But I think their defense is just fantastic. I think if they bring Clowney back, like it's at that point, it's game over for anybody trying to go up against that defense. They brought in Jordan Brooks in the draft at 27. He's someone I saw a lot of tape on because, he was a prospect people were thinking the Ravens would look at because we were looking towards the outside linebacker position.
Young E was in the war room, so just so you guys know.
Yeah,
he's a fucking stud.
Absolute
Beast. I love that guy. He's out of Texas Tech. He's going to be a fantastic player. And then, that secondary is just fucking nasty now. There's nothing more to it. Quentin Dunbar got cleared the other day. He's going to be able to play this season. You got Shaquille Griffin. You throw Jamal Adams in there. And then you have Trey Flowers as your 4th corner. Your 4th corner?
That's really bad.
That's ridiculous. They have probably the best defense in the NFL, but it's hard for me to say that as a Ravens fan. Their offense, it's just super deep to me. I think they have production coming from every position and deep production coming from every position. Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback in the league, probably him, Mahomes, and Lamar. I'm going to go Mahomes, and then I don't know about him and Lamar quite yet just because, I'm a little biased on that. DK Metcalf, I think, is on his way to being a top 10 receiver in the league. I was not super high on him out of the draft. I thought he was a poor route runner, and I didn't know about his hands, but he really came out last year and showed out. He still needs to improve a lot on his route running, but with what Russell Wilson does with staying alive in the pocket and escaping, and that's where his ability to just run and fly becomes so much more important, because it's kind of like the Mahomes with Tyreek Hill thing. You extend the play for 8 seconds. At some point, a guy who's running a 4.28 or a low 4.3 is gonna find his way open. That's just how it works. And then you have Tyler Lockett on the other side, who's just another dude who can just burn down the field. And then DK Metcalf can also serve, like, if he can improve his route running and his hands a little bit as a red zone threat. He's a big guy. He's strong. He can definitely fill that number 1 wide receiver role, and I think he's on his way to doing that. And then I think, the backfield, Phil talked on it a little bit. I don't think they're the best, but they're deep. I think Chris Carson and Rashad Penny can both put up, if healthy, 800-yard seasons. You get 1,800 yards out of that backfield, you're happy with it. And they can both catch the ball out of the backfield too. So, I mean, they're both contributors. I think them being healthy this year is going to be a big deal. And then the tight end room, I don't think is that bad. I think they're all – Will Dissly's okay. Jacob Hollister is okay. Greg Olsen is old and might play 2 games and then go host for Fox.
I'm
but
asleep.
I think, Will Dissly can step in and maybe catch 400 yards, and that's all they need out of him. So Philip Dorsett is not the best, but, I mean, as a third receiver option, it's okay. I hope they can improve on that at some time during the season, or maybe, they can get a rookie to come up and stand out. I don't know if they drafted any receivers or got anybody undrafted, but I don't think this is a terrible, team. I definitely think they're the top team in the NFC, and I think they're probably going to be in that NFC Championship game against the runner-ups, as we're going to call them tonight. And I think it's going to come down to probably an overtime field goal of sorts, and with that happening, I don't know who I'd take.
Or a late interception by someone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be
Good
a
old
close
43.
Because who's the Niners kicker this year? Did they get a new kicker, or is it still Robbie Gould?
It's still Robbie Gould.
Yeah, I'm probably taking Robbie Gould in that kicker matchup. So probably take the Niners. Out of
He's
the
the
NFC
only one to say it comes down to the kickers.
Hey, bro,
He's
when
not
push
wrong.
comes to
He's not
shove
wrong.
in overtime, can I
But
tell you
he's going to
how?
pick the team with the best
Bro,
kicker. That's what he's going
Can
to
I tell you how many
Which happens
times?
to be the Ravens too.
Can I tell you how many times I have seen Justin Tucker single-handedly win us games after I've seen Billy Cundiff single-handedly lose us games? Bro, it's been the greatest
What about Young Hoku?
fix in my life. The Ravens could not have ever made a better decision. They just signed him to a long-term contract, and I think a lot of times, more than we actually realize and think, the kicker is probably a top 3 most important position.
Facts.
We see the Chargers year in and year out lose 10 games or win 10 games within 2 points, depending on is their kicker consistent this year or is it not?
Right.
And that's been like the last 5 years.
Say being a Rams fan, I mean, between 2014 and 2017 when they were just terrible, it was lit. It was pretty much if the Rams could get a 3-point lead, just have Hecker just keep pinning them deep. It's like John. It's like Hecker won the Rams like 2 games in 2016, especially the Jets game. It was just like just keep punting and just pray.
Yeah.
Reminds me of prime Andy Lee on the 49ers when we really sucked in the 2000s. Dude, Andy Lee might have been a top 10 player in the NFC West during those years, bro. He was insane. I'm not kidding.
So good.
Yeah.
And that could lead us into the Niners. Like we're talking about, they were the runner-ups last year. I'm going to go ahead and call them the NFC champions because I think year in and year out, the NFC is usually the stronger conference, so it's no small feat to get out of the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. So one of the biggest moves that they made this offseason was they traded away DeForest Buckner to the Colts, and in return they ended up getting a first-round pick that turned into Javon Kinlaw. So they created a hole and they filled it. And then they also drafted a wide receiver in the first round with Brandon Ayuk, if I'm saying that correctly, to help out number 43 rated player that was rated by the players. And so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, Dunbar. What do you see with the Niners this year being maybe improvements, or is there going to be some positions they're going to fall off? And do you see them going back to the Super Bowl and staying at 13-3, or are they going to get a little worse?
I think the 49ers, at least for me, they are the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl, I think. And I think if Jimmy G can build off of last year, because I think a lot of people forget that Jimmy G is coming off of an ACL tear last year. That was his first full year as a starter. If he can build on that, think the 49ers are in really good position to actually win the Super Bowl this year, as much as that hurts to say. But I think 13-3, 14-2. Like my brother was saying that Bleach Report projected the Niners to go 10-6, and I was like,
that's crazy.
I looked at their schedule. I'm like, how the fuck do they get 6 losses out of this? I see like 2. It's like I see like the Saints in one of the Seahawks games. Say what? Maybe they lose to the Bills on some bullshit because it's snowing.
Don't count it out.
The 49ers, their defense again is going to be fantastic. Probably the best front seven. I mean, when you have when you have Ford and Bosa and Armstead, and then you add it. I mean, losing Butler sucks, but to replace him with someone like Kinlaw is huge. Their linebacking group, probably the best in the league. Their secondary is really fucking good. This team is going to go far again. It's just whether or not they actually win the Super Bowl will be predicated on how well Jimmy G improves off of last season. But this team is built to win a Super Bowl.
Definitely. And Phil, I'm gonna let you go last because this is your team, and
okay,
we're gonna let Young E go ahead. So, what do you think of the Niners this year?
I kind of know what Phil's gonna say, but I won't say it before he says it. So I am gonna disagree with Phil. I think the Niners are.
He's preemptively going to disagree with Phil. He hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah, you're preemptively dissenting from my argument.
I already know. I think they are definitely probably it's them and the Seahawks for the best teams in the NFC. It's no doubt in my mind. I think this team goes to the Super Bowl. I'm scared of them. I want to see a Ravens Niners Super Bowl matchup, but I don't because this is probably the scariest team to me. They are so good, and I think maybe after 16 weeks we might see Deebo Samuel back, and that makes them so much more scary, especially with Ayuk this year. They're just such a nasty roster. Fred Warner is one of my favorite players in the league. Like, by far, if I was a GM and there was any player I could go back and pick in a draft, that would be the guy. Like, he is a beast. He's everything you want out of the linebacker position. And, I mean, just like, I just think this team they're deep too. And then you have George Kittle out there on the offense who's going to bring you 1,600 yards a year. And then he's probably the best blocking tight end in the NFL on top of that. So it's like, what more can you ask for? And then, the backfield's super deep. Obviously, Raheem Mostert can come out and put up 100 yards a game, 200 yards a game, maybe even 300 yards a game, just depending on who they're playing. They might be playing the Packers, so who knows?
Yeah.
You could even
dominated that game, man. Fuck.
You could even rush for 500 yards a game against the Packers. Who fucking knows? But like this team is just, I think they're so good. And someone I want to shout out on their team, an ex-Raven, Kyle Juszczyk. He's just,
oh yeah,
he's something special. Like there's two teams in the NFL that like really use the fullback position, and it's the Ravens and the Niners. And I think it's because the Niners have an ex-Ravens fullback. So like I gotta support it. Like he's a beast. Being able to have him come out the backfield and then Kittle out the tight end spot is just killer for them. Once Deebo Samuel can get healthy, and then you add Brandon Ayuk, who I think fills that void of Emmanuel Sanders. And honestly, I think at this point, in my opinion, right now, he can bring more to the table than Emmanuel Sanders. And I think his potential is through the roof. I know he was a Sacramento guy for a little bit, so I'm a little biased on it, but I saw a lot of things out of him at Arizona State, and he is just a fantastic player, and he can bring a lot to the table for them. So I'm not huge on Jimmy G, but if he can build on last season, I think he takes a step forward, and this is also going to compete to be the best team in the NFC and probably go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
So, Phil, did he get what you were going to say? Correct?
Yes, basically. I mean, so so I'll just jump into it, man. I'm going to start off with the good. The good is that the Niners do have probably a top 3 roster in the league from top to bottom, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Uh, on offense, I got to say I'm really not high on our talent outside of George Kittle in the offensive line, but we have probably the best offensive-minded coach in the league, arguably one or two with Sean McVay. And we have just the perfect blocking personnel to make it to where Ethan could pick up the ball and run for a 5-yard carry on every down.
Yeah.
We really do. It's really that good. But
yeah, probably 3. You're overestimating my talent.
Yeah, okay.
COVID's got me kind of heavy, bro.
I'm going to give you 3.3. Well, hey, look, if CJ Anderson could do it, I'm just
wow.
Look, anybody's running through that hole. Okay, let me get back on topic though. With the Niners, there really are no glaring question marks for me on the roster as opposed to holes. What my issue is, and I have several, one of them is that last year in many respects was like a fairy tale season. And what I mean by that is that everybody on the roster, every single person had not only their best year, but they played far above what I thought would be possible for them. One example of that would be Emmanuel Mosley, who came in as the backup left end or right side corner. He just came in and put forth the season that it just doesn't seem realistic when you really look at where he was in his development, the situation, the circumstances. Quan Alexander was another great example of that before he got hurt, and then even after when he came back.
He's a baller. You're tripping. He was hot on the Bucs.
Yeah, he was a baller, but he had a few. He was either one or a few down years with the Bucs before he came to us, and he came out and he was like a top 5 linebacker when he was on the field.
Nebraska boy. I gotta hype him up. He's hot.
And then the biggest issue I have by far is the fact that when push came to shove, we chose Armstead over Buckner. Now, Buckner, not only is he, obviously top 5 defensive player in the league, but he was the heart and soul of the defense, and he had put forth consistent production and development since he came in the league. Armstead, I'm not going to take away anything from him last year. He had a fantastic season, but the 3 years before last year, Armstead was not living up to his draft potential, and I have serious doubts about us giving him the money and not Buckner. Now, with that being said, if you're getting rid of Buckner, they did the perfect thing, which is they got high draft compensation and they got Javon Kinlaw, who I'm very, very high on. So given the circumstance and given that they didn't want to give up Aaron Donald money for someone who's not Aaron Donald, I can live with that decision. I still don't agree with it, and if I were the GM, I wouldn't have done it. On the offensive side of the ball, Debo being hurt is really, really going to hurt us. I guess on paper, our passing game is not bad. Like, we did have solid production last year. It looks good. It passes the eye test. I'm just really not high on the talent we have outside of George Kittle. And that includes Jimmy G. Like Dunbar said, he was coming off a torn ACL. On paper, he had great numbers, but outside of that Saints game last year, I just did not like what I saw from Jimmy G. And I really think for us, it comes down to the fact that we could have the worst quarterback in the division, or we could have the second best, and I really have no idea. I have no idea which version I'm going to get until I see some more consistency out of him. And then outside of that, man, I really just need to wait and see. I definitely think there's no way we go under 10-6. I think we're going to be in the playoffs, but just off recent history, what I've seen with Super Bowl teams, the Eagles, for example, the Rams, obviously, I see a likelihood where we do have a little bit of a slump, particularly given the fact that I think this is going to be the toughest division in football. I could really see us going 11-5, and honestly, if I had to choose right now, I would say the Seahawks are probably taking the division. That's just because I'm going to bet on Russell Wilson and their roster more so than I'm willing to bet on my current roster and my current quarterback, Mr. 43.
Hey, one pickup we didn't really talk about that was a really big pickup for the Niners this season was Trent Williams.
Huge.
From Washington football team.
He's stepping into some big shoes with Joe Staley, though.
Yeah, but he's a really good player, and he sat out last year, at least most of the games, I'm pretty sure. I think he sat out the whole year, though, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so he's going to be fresh,
yes.
And that's a big thing for them because offensive linemen taking that year off, I don't think it hurts as much as a position like a receiver where you're not getting those reps. For an offensive lineman, they really need that time to build their body back and kind of just rest because they probably out of all sports, they probably take offensive and defensive linemen probably take the biggest beating.
Right.
And the biggest physical toll out of all sports. So taking that year off, I think will be big for him. And I think he's going to come out and have an all-pro season for them. And I think that will be a big deal for them to help out Jimmy G. Because if he gets 4 seconds in the pocket, at some point somebody's going to get open. Even if it's Kendrick Bourne, who's probably a wide receiver 4 on any other.
That's enough of that. Kendrick Bourne is nice.
How dare you? He is a good man.
Yeah, he's a good receiver.
I don't know.
I don't know why I love him.
You got Dante Pettis, who I guess he can play okay in the slot, but he doesn't really pose.
He's smoke and mirrors, bro. Dante Pettis is like he's like the myth of El Dorado. Everybody talks about him being good. He never shows up.
I don't know about him.
He is the San Francisco version of Brian Quick. Remember him? He was the first pick of the second round by the Rams, like 2013, and it's like this is his year. This is his year. He's gonna break out this time.
That's facts.
Doesn't break out. Dante Pettis reminds me so much of like that situation.
And I want to reiterate too, while we're on the subject, and what I was saying about the fact that everybody on the Niners showed up and exceeded their expectations last year. I think nowhere was that more apparent than the offensive line. Because we had a ton of injuries last year, and replacements were stepping in, and they were playing as a unit like a top 3 offensive line in the league, which is just so abnormal to me. And really, Jimmy G had solid pockets, the best running game in the league last year, and he still looks shaky to me. And I'm thinking if there's any type of slippage at all in the offensive line, I could see it falling apart really, really quickly on the passing game.
You know, the one thing I was going to say about this division is if there's going to be any surprises in the NFL this year, it could be this division with how tough it is. And I'm saying that also because of what's going on with COVID. The off season, is going to be, there's no preseason, and we don't know how that's going to affect teams. I think if there's going to be any shakeups that are going to be, unexpected, it's going to be in this division. The Niners and Seahawks look poised to be 2 of the top 2 teams in the NFC. But, like you guys are saying, just a couple injuries can change it all with everything that's going on in the offseason. I don't know. I could see big shakeups. I'm really excited to watch football from all 4 teams in this division.
Yep.
And I do want to pose the question, is Jimmy G just too sexy? Is he is he not earning it? Because, like, if you look at the quarterback he used to play under, right, Brady, he was ugly, bro, and he had to go out and earn his sexiness. Jimmy G, on the other hand, I don't know. I feel like he's a little too overconfident. He's not working as hard as he should. Yeah. What do you guys have to say about that?
He's got to slow down a bit. Like, look at Joe Burrow, man. He's not the most attractive, but look at what he just did last season for LSU.
He can't help it, bro.
And, Russell Wilson, I'll say he's kind of corny, and I don't, he pulled Sierra. That's way out of his league. I don't think he's the most attractive guy, but, I think he comes out there and he earns it every day. Those short guys, him and Kyler, they got to come out there and earn it. They're not blessed with that. Jimmy G, I'm 6'2", and I could date a porn star at any given moment. Look at this face.
Is this the season that Jimmy G gets away from the porn star Jimmy nickname?
No, Stephen A is never going to let it die.
It's never going away.
Hey, I will say, I saw a tweet that made me laugh for a good 10 minutes last season, and it was, Jimmy G leads the league in dropped interceptions from defenders because they look into his eyes and they get lost for a split second. That would have me dead because he really do be throwing a lot of missed interceptions that the defenders drop. He at least had like 20 of those last year.
Oh, man. That's hella funny. But I think with the way, just, how tough it's going to be, I think it's very hard in this division to win the division back-to-back. So I agree with Phil that I think the Seahawks are going to take it this year. I still do see it being Seahawks. Then secondly, it'll be the Niners. And then I don't know. It's kind of tough. I'm not too high on the Rams. A couple injuries away, a couple missteps away from being at the 4th position there. So I don't know. It's kind of hit and miss for me. I don't know. It'll be the Cardinals or Rams there. But I could also see it, too, where the Rams step up and have a tremendous season and they're hitting on all cylinders. And just who knows? A lot of, I wouldn't say question marks per se, but there's a lot of intriguing storylines for this division going into the season. And I'm really excited to see it all play out.
I will say too, the Niners are fired up to come back. I mean, they've really been. It's been a unified. Like they're pissed off about what happened in the Super Bowl. It could be, just talk, but I've seen the Niners lose another Super Bowl in my lifetime, and the energy was not the same coming off of that one as it is off of this one.
That's true.
Fuck, it's so funny, Jordan.
I just like seeing you upset because they're always winning now, so it's okay to see you. You gotta think, bro. I have to talk to you guys. I'm a Dolphins fan, and you guys are having teams that are Super Bowl contenders. Okay, I gotta have fun somewhere.
It really is apples to oranges between the Kings and the Niners for me. It's like one end is the Kings and one end is the Niners, so it's nice to be rooting for a good team for once.
The Rams had their last winning season when I was 5, and they didn't have a winning season again until I was fucking 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The year after I graduated high school. From kindergarten to high school, they didn't have a winning season.
Poor Steven Jackson.
God, man. Well,
guess what? Dolphins made it to the playoffs when I was like 3. Then they made it when I was 11. They got killed by the fucking Ravens. Wildcat didn't do shit. And then the one year that we do really well, Calais Campbell has to go and knock Ryan Tannehill's ACL. I was just so mad. And they go 10-6, get blown out. Matt Moore gets killed against the Steelers. Literally got decapitated. Wasn't fair. It's a tough road. So let me have my fun making fun of the fucking runner-ups.
It's better to just not be the runner-up, bro. Trust me.
It's hard for me to even say anything because, I could talk about Jimmy G being shit, but it's hard for me to even say anything bad about the Ravens. I think they're definitely up there. I can't really say much about Lamar Jackson, the MVP. So
I'll find something.
You'll find something.
I'm gonna be the Skip Bayless for Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna find anything I can do to criticize him just to see Ethan's reaction.
Just make sure your criticism is not like the 49ers radio announcer.
Oh yeah, no. Never that. I'm gonna get fired from my own pod.
Yeah. Put on leave.
Yeah. So 2-14 for that.
All right, that was a good discussion though. It's gonna be a great division. We're all excited to see it.
Yeah, really excited for this division. Did you guys? I mean, that was a pretty good discussion that we had there. Went on a little longer than expected. Do you guys you still want to go talk about NHL or go straight to hot takes?
I'm good with NHL. If y'all are good with NHL.
Yeah, let's let Ethan take it away. We got to give all sports.
I have no idea what's going on with hockey, so this will actually be good for me.
Hey, so qualifiers finished today. I'm really excited. If you guys haven't been tuning in, fucking watch some hockey. It is playoff hockey right now. It is the best hockey you can find. No fans. I don't give a fuck. It is fantastic. The games have been great. There have been upsets. Both 12 seeds fucking won. That is one of the best things I could imagine. I think we're going to see upsets all the way through the playoffs. I'm really excited for it. I'm glad they're taking the off days because I know the last couple days the ice has been really bad. I know a lot of the players have been complaining and the pucks have been bouncing in some weird ways. But either way, I love to see it. There was only one sweep, rightfully so, I think. And I just think, this is going to be a lot of fun. The playoffs are a lot of fun in the NHL. And I think if you're not a hockey fan, now is the best time to tune in because you will get hooked real quick. There's been fights. There are intense games. There's been overtimes. There's been walk-off winners, everything you can imagine. There was even a fucking buzzer beater, which I have never seen in my goddamn life, last week or something. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. We've talked about it. Me and Goose have talked about it before. And I'm just like, it's super rare. I've never seen it. And literally last week, someone, I think it was on the Avalanche, made a buzzer beater with literally 0.1 seconds left in the game. And it was to win the game. Probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But real quick, I'm going to steal your screen. I'm going to go through a couple of these playoff matchups real quick.
Can I ask you a question, Youngie,
Go
about
for it.
NHL?
Go for it.
So you know how we've discussed with the NBA bubble how, some players may be benefiting from there being no fans. There's been extremely high scoring games. Are you seeing anything like that in the NHL with there being no fans?
Um, I think we're seeing, at least like from what I've seen with the Coyotes, a lot of these fourth line guys who are not normally contributors. Like, the way it goes in hockey is, your first line is your stars, your second line is like, this it's your continuous backups, and the fourth line is usually like your deepest guys, rookies or somebody. And I've seen out of a lot of the games, fourth line guys are stepping up way more than like the stars from what I've seen. And that's really cool for me. Just because I love to see the underdog. Just like I love to see both 12 seeds win. I thought that was, a really cool thing. And no one really expected it. So, I love to see those fourth line guys stepping up.
And then also, you know how the NFL is no longer allowing people to, shake hands after the game and give out jerseys?
Yes.
Are they still allowing in the NHL for them to fight?
So the the NHL, in my opinion, has done far and above the best job of handling COVID out of any sports league. I think it started with picking the two hub cities in Canada because we all know our country is a fucking mess and shouldn't probably have anything going on for at least a couple months. But, who knows how that's going to go. And that's not for a sports podcast. That's for something else. But, I think that was a great idea. And, all the way through, they have yet to have a positive test. So they're running games just like normal, aside from the no fans. Nothing's been changed. There's fights. There's hugs after the game. There's jersey exchanges. Not really. They don't really do that in hockey, but, all the good normal stuff. People are shaking hands, all that good stuff. Like, they've been handling it really well. So I think it's going to continue. I think they're going to be able to, finish the season on a positive note. I think they might honestly get through this without having a positive test among players, which would be, a huge milestone in comparison to the other leagues. So I'm excited for the rest of hockey season. With that being said, let's dive into these first round. So first things first, Wednesday night, we got it started. And I do want to say they just announced the schedule maybe 30 minutes ago while we were on the podcast. So this is nice and fresh for us to talk about. Tuesday night, we got the Western Conference starting with the Vegas Golden Knights, the number one team in the West. They clinched it with an overtime goal. I'm happy they clinched it with an overtime goal because I did not want to see them in the first round as a Coyotes fan. We have gotten clapped by them all fucking season. I just didn't want to see it again. And I agree with Dunbar 100%. Fuck Vegas. I hate their fucking team. It makes me so mad that an expansion team can come in and win the league. But I love to see the Blackhawks in here. They're a young team. They were the 12 seed. They came in and they upset Edmonton, who was playing in their home fucking court, upset Edmonton. That was a big deal to me, but I think they're going to get mopped, probably swept. So I'm going with the Vegas Golden Knights. Starting on also, I think it's on Wednesday. Yeah, on Wednesday, the Coyotes and Avalanche. I'm biased on this. The Avs are a really good team. I don't really think we stand a chance, but I'm going to go with the Coyotes just anyways because, I got to support my team. And if they upset, who knows? We do have a good roster.
You're going to put money on it?
We got a lot of stars on the team. The odds are absolutely ridiculous, so I very well might. But we'll see about that. Dallas and Calgary, the Flames are, I don't know. They're so slept on. The West, one thing I will say, if you don't know, the playoffs in the West were really close. They go by points. You get points for wins and draws, or wins and overtime losses, not draws. So the West, I think the final 6 seeds in the West for the playoffs, And then out of the playoffs, the 4 teams that were competing were all within like 3 points. It was all within 1 or 2 games. It was really, really close. So all these teams are really good. But I'm going to go with the Flames. They are a fantastic roster. They got young guys on their team. Canucks, and then your returning Stanley Cup champions, St. Louis Blues. I think the Blues are a good team, but I think they're a little bit outmatched on this one. I'll go with the Canucks. Another 12 seed team, which I love to see, and a team who I thought was slept on all year, and I think they are one of the best teams in the East, the Canadiens. I'm taking them to upset the number 1 seed. People would shit themselves.
What a name.
I love it. I love it.
The Canadiens.
Yeah. Hey, man, they got a good squad. They got a lot of young guys, too, and I love what they bring to the table, and I fucking hate the Philadelphia Flyers. That logo is stupid. They are stupid.
How can you hate Gritty?
As far as I know, in the last 20 years, most of those Philadelphia Flyers have been pieces of shit, so I don't like them. And I'm gonna continue.
What, you got sources?
I'm gonna continue on this trend in the East. I think we're going to see a lot of upsets in the East. The Blue Jackets were one of my favorite teams coming into the qualifiers. I thought they deserved to be in the playoffs. They're a hell of a team. They were the only Game 5 in the entire qualifying rounds, but they came in tonight. They took care of business, a 3-0 win. They sat the Maple Leafs the fuck down. They told them to go the fuck home. You're not good enough to be here, and I think they're going to be moving on. Then we come down here to the Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. I think this is an interesting series. As you can see with the percentages, it's pretty fucking close, 51 and 49. The Hurricanes were the only team to sweep in the qualifying rounds. I don't think too highly of the Bruins. I think they're kind of old. I think, they're veterans. They help them in the playoffs, but when you're playing a team like the Hurricanes, who are hot right now, and the Bruins, I will say they lost every single game in the round robin. They are not confident right now. I have them getting swept by the Carolina Hurricanes. Quick series, 4 games, sweep. Easy money for the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they have potential to go all the way this year. They're a really good team, and I like that because they're a team who's been pretty shit since their creation, and I think they were created in like 02, 03. They're one of the newest sports franchises in one of the big leagues. So to see them come in and succeed, I know they went to one World Cup or Stanley Cup, but to see them succeed this year, I think they're a really good team and they could take it all. I definitely think they have the potential. And finally, I come down to this last series, which I'm glad it's last because I don't really know anything about the Islanders. I think they kind of fucking suck. Honestly, I don't even know who they played. They played the Panthers.
I'd like to point out here, owned by James Dolan, New York Islanders.
See, and that just lowers them on my list now. See, I was already thinking poorly of them, but now I'm thinking more poorly of them. They played the Panthers in the qualifying rounds, who I also thought was not a good team. Some of these Eastern teams, I don't know. The standings were fucking weird. There were a lot of injuries throughout the year, and some of these teams did not deserve to be here. And the Islanders is one of them. They're gonna get swept. So I'm taking the Capitals. Let's see. What are these other ones? I don't want to really answer these because they got
Dolan owns the Rangers.
Oh, he owns the Rangers, not the Islanders?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit more respect for the Islanders.
Are there 2 hockey teams in New York?
Yeah, there's 2 hockey teams in New York.
Are there like 4?
Oh, damn! I didn't know that.
I think there might be 3. There's a Buffalo team too. So I'm really excited for this. Like I said, I think the Eastern Conference is going to be full with fucking upsets. I think it's all upsets other than the Capitals. And like, if you're bored at home, I will literally throw you my NHL TV subscription. I have been watching every fucking game that I can. It is so entertaining. Check in. Just check in a game. I don't care which game. It could be a Coyotes game. It could be like, if there was any game I was going to tell you to check in on this series, I'll probably tell you to watch, Carolina and Boston. I think the Hurricanes are awesome to watch, and they're fucking good. And the Canucks are good. They have a really good goalie. He's really fun to watch if you're into the goalie thing. Coyotes too. Our dude had been getting 50 saves a game. He set the record in the last game. Awful fucking defense because an average game you get about 30 shots on goal. We gave up about 54, but it is what it is. Luckily the goalie pulled a day moment and fucking said, "Look at me, I'm clutch. I'm gonna take us to the next round," and that's exactly what he did. So, looking forward to hockey, man. I'm so excited to have a team other than the Ravens in the fucking playoffs. I'm excited for the Ravens, but I've seen the Ravens have success in my lifetime. My other sports franchises, not so much, especially the Coyotes, who I have not been watching for the most part for the last 10 years because they have been probably the worst team in the league. Like, they're equivalent to the Kings of the NHL, but now they're stepping in and doing what they need to do. And another thing I will mention with them is right before the bubble started, their GM quit on no notice.
Oh, yeah, I saw
GM
that.
just fucking up and walked out like fucking 3 days before the bubble started.
It sucks to see someone else living your dream.
I think that is I think that is underrated.
If Lottie did that, I'd be hyped up.
Yeah.
I wish.
I think it's underrated how much of an effect that takes on a team, especially when you have to go into every single post and pregame press conference, and every single player, every single coach is going to be asked every fucking time, "How do you feel about the GM not being here?" Well, motherfucker, he walked out. What do you want me to say? And they dealt with it. So I'm excited. I love what they bring to the table, and even if they don't move on, I'm okay with it because I like the Avs too. And I think there's just a lot of good hockey teams and a lot of good hockey to be played in these playoffs, and I'm excited for it.
I gotta say, I loved that true hockey aggressiveness with that analysis of the playoffs.
Hey, and
he was fired up, man.
Who the fuck thought we would have got hockey in August, man? Who the fuck thought we would have got hockey in August? And I'm just thrilled about it. Only got a 2-month off season and we're back into it. It's
talk your shit.
Never been better. Shit. It's never been better.
I like that. Thank you so much for our NHL analysis. Very big playoff. We're heading into very different times, so any sports thing is going to be, really intriguing to us sports fans. And Make sure you never watched any NHL, any hockey. Go ahead, watch one game. I promise you won't be disappointed. I don't get too much into it myself, but I got to say when I do sit down and watch it with Young E, I'm impressed every single time. It was a great game. And I've even gone down to Stockton and seen a couple games, and it's just, it's a real fun sport. People give it a chance for real. And this will lead us into our final part of the show where we give at least one hot take, one thing that other people don't normally think. Dunbar, do you have one on top of your head that you want to lead us off with, or do you want us to go first?
I'm not sure if this is really a hot take, but I think the Toronto Raptors win the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay, and what is your reasoning for that?
I watched the Raptors-Laker game, and I knew the Raptors were really, really good all year. That team, holy shit! The way that they pass the ball, the way that they their offense is so unselfish, and as a result of that, they're so good. It's the term is basketball porn. It's so good to watch.
Facts.
And then when they lost Kawhi, I thought their defense would take a bit of a step back. It hasn't missed a beat. They still probably the best defensive team in the league. Like they just never let up.
Oh, we talk about all the time with the Raptors. They just play great basketball.
Yeah, I'd probably say Nick Nurse is probably the best coach right now.
Agreed.
Yeah,
100%.
Coach of the year.
Again.
Yeah, again.
He has my vote.
Who are the finalists for Coach of the Year? It's Donovan,
Budenholzer, and Nurse. Yeah.
I would give it to Donovan just because of everything that's happened. But
you trade 2 MVP caliber players in one offseason and you're still the 5th seed in the West.
Yeah, but I could give it to Nick Nurse too.
And Nick Nurse
definitely.
Well, Dunbar, I like that hot take a lot. I'm very high on the Raptors myself. We've talked about it in previous shows. They just play outstanding basketball.
We're fans of that on the pod.
Yes. Sometimes it can come off as a little boring, but they get the job done, and they really just punish teams when they need to. It's very impressive. Young E, Phil, who would like to go next?
I got one ready.
All right.
Talking about the 49ers has got my juices flowing on this one, and this is a 49ers-related hot take. This might be.
If you say 8-8, I'm gonna slap you through the screen.
No, of course I'm not gonna say that.
Look at him; he's already trying to disagree with you before you even say anything.
Yeah, that was a heat check by him.
It was.
So my hot take is in regards to the Jim Harbaugh era 49ers, and I see a lot of complaining from current Saints fans about how they've had a really, really horrible stretch of luck in playoff games. Which I agree with. They've had a tough 3-4 years, partly because of luck, partly because of, bad calls. Bad calls happen. But
that was a great call. It's a great no call.
I'm sure you think so.
On a frying pan.
But anyways, what I was thinking is that 2011 to 2013 49ers teams, and I've said this before, but really they were about 4 or 5 plays away from being back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Mm-hmm. And I think they have the worst stretch of luck that any football team has had in 3 consecutive years, more so than even the Bills teams that went to 4 straight Super Bowls. I mean, I think the first year in 2011, we have Kyle Williams who muffed a punt twice.
Kyle fucking Williams.
In the second half. 2012, Ethan, I'm going to tell you this until the day you die. That was fucking PI in the end zone. It was fucking PI. I understand. I understand why.
And
I understand why you don't call it.
Y'all cheated. You turned the lights out. Got momentum back. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
Listen,
that was a.
You don't call that play in the Super Bowl. You don't call that penalty.
I understand. I understand you don't call it, but it's still PI. At the end of the day, it's PI. I get why it's a no call, but it's PI.
Here's my question: if they had the review rules, do you think they would have changed it?
No, because I think they stand by that philosophy of you just don't overturn it unless it's really egregious.
Okay. The refs were shit. That's why that whole rule got changed this year.
Exactly.
I'm glad it's away now. But
and then 2013, man, I'm telling you, if Kaepernick throws that ball literally 6 inches more than what he did, it's a touchdown and we're going to the Super Bowl. And it was a heartbreaking stretch to watch as a 49ers fan, but Yes, to Crabtree in the end zone. It was slightly underthrown, and if he would have thrown the ball 6 inches further to the right and up, it would have been a touchdown. And Sherman made a hell of a play, one of the best plays I've ever seen. I'm not going to lie to you. And really, I think it just goes to show that in football, the margin for error is more slim than in any other sport, and you really have to be on your P's and Q's at all times. So for me moving forward, I'm not going to take anything for granted. If we do win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, I'm going to cherish it. I really think Patriots fans, if I ever hear them complain about jack shit, I'm going to be really upset with them because they won fucking 6 Super Bowls in a span of 20 years. So I'm really not trying to hear any of their complaining about anything. But that calls, losing Tom Brady, I don't want to hear anything. All right. But that's my hot take for today, is that the Jim Harbaugh Niners were the dynasty that never was.
Okay. I mess with that. Youngie, you got one ready to fire off, or you need a second?
Yes, I do. With my hockey stuff, with the Eastern Conference all being upset, that was a little bit of a spicy take. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a hot take, but I do have a hot take coming for you out the NFC West, and my opinion is Kyle Shanahan is far and above the best coach in that division.
I like it.
No questions asked, and I think people might think that's hot. Pete Carroll's a good coach, and I think honestly, we might be a year or two down, and Pete Carroll might be the 3rd best coach in the division. I'm really high on Cliff Kingsbury. I think he has a bright future, and I think he has a really good fucking team, a really good young team to build around for the next 2-3 years, and they can become a powerhouse in the NFC. So I do think in the next couple years we might see Pete Carroll slide to the third best coach in the NFC West. Maybe 2, maybe 3 years. It might be a while. Russell Wilson's got to age a little bit. Some of those guys got to get out of there. Bobby Wagner is getting up there in age a little bit, so he might start dropping off in a year or two. And that's a big piece.
I need to interrupt you for a second. Are you saying that in 2 years, Pete Carroll will be third on the coaching list in the division, and you're saying Cliff Kingsbury will be number 2?
It's very much
which would put Sean McVay at 4. That's what you're saying.
It's very much a toss-up. I think it's a possibility. I think Sean McVay right now.
Hey, Pete Carroll might be retired in a couple years.
Yeah, we got to think about that too. That's a good point.
True. Yeah.
I'm not really thinking about that. He is getting up there in age a little bit, and I think if Cliff Kingsbury takes a step forward, he very much brings to the table kind of what Sean McVay brings to the table. Maybe not as much, but he brings something good to the table. And I think, honestly, looking at the next 3-4 years, he has a better lineup for the future than I think both the Seahawks and the Rams, which in turn is going to make us in 2-3 years when the Cardinals are 12-4 and the Niners are still probably 12-4 or 13-3, and the other teams are maybe 9-7 or 10-6. We're going to say, okay, yeah, that's probably the second best coach in the division just because their team is having more success.
The only step forward Cliff Kingsbury is taking is to Fox NFL Sunday as a commentator because he's going to be unemployed in 2 years.
Phil, you have the most random hate for the most random fucking people.
Look who's division.
Kingsbury, Josh Allen.
True. You can't be talking.
Yeah, what the hell?
What? Who I hate on?
Ethan, the list is too
who
long.
I hate. Give me someone who I hate on.
You hate on any Browns player. It doesn't matter if they're good.
Nah,
player.
You're a lie. I think Nick Chubb is good. I think Myles Garrett is good. I don't think Baker Mayfield is good.
The Steelers players all the time, which is
I said today.
I'm saying this
today they're a top 3 defense.
He's a Niners fan. I'm okay with him hating on the teams in the NFC West. He's allowed to do that.
No, I'm not even hating on him. He's just bad. This isn't hate. He's just not good at his job.
The Steelers offense is bad. Don't get me started on the Steelers offense. It's bad. It's not good. It's just not. But the defense, like I said earlier in the show, as hard as it is for me to say it, is a top 3 defense, and that top 3 is very interchangeable and very up to your personal opinion because it's not clear whatsoever at all. None. No.
All right. Well, I'm going to get into my hot take, and this is going back into the NFC West, kind of going along what you were talking about. I think the Cardinals, if I'm going to have a hot take today, I'm going to say the Cardinals are going to go to the playoffs. I could see, like I was saying earlier about COVID and everything that's going on, I could see this being one of the stranger seasons that we see from the NFL. It's always, any given Sunday, any team can win. But one thing that I like with Kyler is, he's jumping into the NFL right at the perfect time where quarterbacks like him are being they're in demand. People want quarterbacks like him. And I'm not saying he's going to be like Lamar Jackson, but there was a significant jump from Lamar Jackson having his first year to his second. I'm not saying Kyler's going to be MVP or anything, but getting that first year out of the way, being able to find the running lanes, being more aware in the pocket, getting those mechanics a little bit more figured out, getting more comfortable in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. I think this team has a very good chance to make the playoffs. I could see one of the teams, like whether it's the Rams, Seahawks, or Niners, one of them can potentially fall off just with one small change throughout the season. I don't know. I really like this Cardinals team. They're very exciting. And I think the addition of DeAndre Hopkins just greatly improves that team. They're going to be just throwing that thing down the field. And then you got to think, too, like DeAndre Hopkins with Larry Fitz heading down the field, that defense is spread out. That opens up so many running lanes for Kyler. I'm just excited, man. I think this is going to be a very good team, and they have a really good chance to make the playoff. That's my hot take for today.
I'm with you on it, as you can see from my continuous thumbs up.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm really excited to see Cliff Kingsbury take on the Monday Night Booth because, it's been downtrodden the past few years with Booger McFarland and Jason Witten. So hopefully he can get some different energy in there. And looking forward to seeing him in 2022.
Yeah, I think I got one more hot take that's a little bit better than my Raptors one. I think I'm also going to go in the past because Phil said the dynasty that never was, and that made me think of the Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
I maintain this, and I will say it forever. The Thunder made the right move in trading James Harden. They made the right move.
All right.
I like that. That's spicy.
James Harden would have never reached his potential coming off the bench.
That's true.
The Thunder at that point, they were still a newer team. Their owner wasn't he was still rich, but they pretty much, you pay James Harden a max to be a bench player, and you lose Serge Ibaka, who at that point was one of the league's best defenders, or you trade James Harden for a really good package and pay Ibaka. Because I think the 2012-2013 Thunder team, the year after they traded Harden, was the best team they ever had. They were top 4 in offensive rating, top 3 in defensive rating. Kevin Martin, that came over from the Rockets, was their best bench player, shooting 43% from 3. That team was fucking good. And then Pat Beverly has to dive at Westbrook's in the first round.
Yeah.
Couldn't carry them past the Grizzlies. And the Thunder also got Steven Adams out of it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I like that take.
Yeah,
I think a little bit of a sizzler, but it's a good one.
It's a sizzler, but hindsight's 20/20, and no one could have seen what happened with James Harden.
Yeah.
James Harden, I'm not gonna blame him as to why the Thunder lost to the Heat in 2012.
He was horrible though.
There are a lot of rumors that James Harden spent a lot of times at the Miami strip clubs in between the games, and that's why he played like shit.
I'm not surprised if that
reoccurring theme.
Yeah, exactly.
He likes to hit up tootsies, so I'll give him that.
Boy spent $1 million in one night one time. Got his jersey retired at a strip club.
He needs to take a step back, if you will.
Yeah. All right. That was a great show. We've almost went 2 hours here. Thank you, Dunbar, for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you gave us, a lot of insight. And, I really do appreciate talking to different people who have different teams that they follow, because it does give you a different perspective. You always think of it, right? Your team is the only team and everybody else is the enemy. So it's really hard to, see certain things that go on with the different teams. So I really do appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
And did you want to throw out a little Twitter handle so people can follow you?
My Twitter handle is my name. It's Ryan Dunbar, then an underscore. I've actually kind of stopped using it a little bit. And also, I guess my Instagram is RR Dunbar.
Okay, guys, go ahead and follow him. He has great sports opinions. Definitely one of the better follows I've had last couple of years. And you have any closing statement you want to say, Dunbar?
When am I going to come back on?
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on soon. Definitely,
anytime, man.
Definitely.
Hella fun.
What about Young E? Phil, you got any closing statements for the show today?
I just want to say fuck the Astros. That's what
there we go.
Fuck the fucking Astros. All them damn players need to be suspended.
Facts.
That fucking coach today that was pushing Roman Laureano, he needs to be fucking fired. That Manfred needs to put his fucking foot down and stop being a fucking pussy. That's what he really needs to do. I'm tired of him. I hope he's out after this year as commissioner. He needs to fucking do something because the Astros are going to get baseball canceled. Everybody's going to be fucking pissed just because they can't keep their shit together and stop causing fucking fights. And that's exactly what the MLB, when they came out with those stricter rules earlier this week, were like, don't fucking do this. Well, the Astros coach is going to come up on the top step, call you a little bitch, and then hide behind his players because he's fucking soft. And then the commissioner is going to suspend the player for probably 15 fucking games, a quarter of this fucking season, and that Astros coach is going to get no repercussions, and I'm going to be done with the MLB as I'm already kind of done with the MLB. So, yes, fuck the fucking Astros. That's what I'm finishing on, and that's it for me. That's all I got to say. Fuck the Astros.
Phil, you got anybody you want to cuss out before we end it?
Yeah, you know what? Last week we ended the show. We took some shots at Big Ben, and I think people might be expecting me to come back and say like, hey, we need to respect his due process. No, fuck that. I'm doubling down. Big Ben's a fucking rapist. He always has been a fucking rapist. When you talk about Big Ben, you should say Big Ben the rapist. I don't want to hear about him throwing 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday. I want you to preface it by saying Big Ben, the alleged rapist, threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday.
It's not even alleged. Okay? It's not alleged. He's a rapist.
If it happened 10 years later, if it happened in 2018, he wouldn't have a career. So you know what? We need to hold him to the same level of accountability that we hold for other rapists, and I'm standing by that.
Just to remind everybody what he said last week is he wouldn't mind. I wouldn't say that he said that he wanted him to be, but I said Phil said he would not mind if Big Ben was dead. So that's why he was expecting. That's why he said, everybody might be expecting an apology, but he's doubling down.
I just said I was indifferent to it. Okay, like I'm not. His fate's in God's hands, man. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not gonna bat my eyelids at it.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, Dunbar, for joining us today. We had a great show. This is the Couch Sports Talk podcast. We're enjoying sports the same way you guys are. That is from the fucking couch. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please like, and leave us a comment down below. Where are we being stupid? Where are we fucking up? Who are we missing? Let's have some conversations down below in the comment section. Thank you for listening. Again, this is the Couch Sports Talk podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Don't just say maybe. Don't just say
good night,
maybe
everybody.
In the comments. See you later, though.